Welcome to the Mortuary Masterclass, brought to you by the Champion Company, where preservation meets purpose, and every step is part of your journey to safer solutions. What if I told you embalmers were discussing formaldehyde-free embalming decades before most people thought it was possible? Not as a theory, not as wishful thinking, as a real goal. One researchers were actively working toward, and here's what makes that so fascinating. Many of the ideas that helped shape modern alternative embalming chemistry were already being explored years ago. Today, we're looking back at one of those moments in embalming history, a time when researchers challenged themselves to answer an important question. Could a complete embalming system be developed without formaldehyde while still providing the preservation, sanitation, penetration, and presentation of embalmers expected? Before we go any further, it's important to recognize the role formaldehyde played in our profession. Modern embalming was built upon its effectiveness. For generations, it helped establish the preservation standards that made public viewing possible and allowed embalmers to provide meaningful care to the families they serve. Its contribution to the profession cannot be overstated, but chemists and embalmers have always looked ahead. They've always searched for ways to improve, and that search led researchers to begin exploring entirely new approaches to embalming chemistry. One of those efforts became Champion's Millennium/New Era research program. And what made it unique wasn't simply the goal of creating a new arterial fluid. The goal was much larger. Researchers wanted to create a complete embalming system, a coordinated approach where multiple products work together to achieve preservation, sanitation, penetration, and tissue conditioning. Instead of relying primarily on a single active ingredient, these formulations were built around multiple components working together. Think of it as a team approach to chemistry. Each component had a job to do, and together they were designed to create a balanced embalming system. At the center of that system was ARTERIAL 24-alpha factor. Champion described alpha factor as a formaldehyde-free arterial fluid designed to provide the preservation, penetration, sanitation, and deodorizing qualities that embalmers expected from a high-performance arterial chemical. What made the formulation especially interesting was its multi-aldehyde and multiphenolic approach. Rather than relying on a single chemistry pathway, multiple preservation mechanisms worked together within the formulation. The goal was effective preservation while minimizing many of the concerns associated with traditional formaldehyde exposure. Researchers also focused heavily on tissue appearance. The original reports noted that Arterial 24 was designed to help avoid some of the unwanted effects that embalmers occasionally associated with aggressive dehydration. Instead, the formulation incorporated humectant technology intended to support a more natural tissue texture and presentation. Because every embalmer knows preservation is only part of the job, presentation matters too. Alongside alpha factor came beta factor, and this is where chemistry becomes especially interesting. Ever notice how two cases can receive nearly identical treatment yet respond very differently? One case is distributed beautifully. The other makes you work for every ounce of preservation. Researchers understand that controlling how chemistry moves through tissue is often just as important as chemistry itself. Beta factor was developed as an activator and buffer cofactor designed to support penetration and perfusion. The original research described a sophisticated buffering system intended to maintain a narrow pH range during the embalming process. Think of it like cruise control for chemistry. Not too fast, not too slow, just controlled and consistent. The objective was to better distribution, better penetration, and ultimately more predictable results. And if we're honest, predictable results are something every embalmer appreciates. The Millennium/New Era system also included Humectant Aloe Factor. While preservation often gets most of the attention, experienced embalmers understand that moisture balance plays a critical role in the outcome. Too much dehydration can create challenges. Too little preservation can create challenges of its own. Humectant Aloe Factor was developed to support tissue hydration through a combination of aloe-based and low molecular weight humectant ingredients. The goal was to help maintain appropriate tissue moisture while complementing the preservation process. Again, this reflected the larger philosophy behind the Millennium/New Era concept. Not simply preservation, balanced preservation. Then there was Tri-San Power Factor. Many longtime embalmers will remember Champion's D-San and the role it played in preparation rooms throughout the profession. Tri-San represented the next step in that evolution. The original research described Tri-San as a potentiated trialdehyde-based additive designed to increase penetration, sanitation, reactivity, and overall embalming action when difficult conditions demanded additional support. And let's face it, every embalmer has encountered those cases. The ones that remind us embalming is still part science, part art, and part problem solving. Those are the moments when specialty additives often earn their place in the prep room, not because every case requires them, but because having options matters. The Millennium/New Era system also included New Era dye concentrate, an advanced concentrated dye formulation developed to accompany the arterial fluids and additives. The goal was to improve distribution, cosmetic appearance, and natural-looking coloration using smaller amounts of dye than many traditional additives required. Like the rest of the system, it wasn't intended to function alone. It was designed to work as part of a coordinated approach. And that's really the theme running throughout this entire story. The idea wasn't a single product. It was an entire system working together. Looking back from today's perspective, that concept feels remarkably familiar. Modern embalming chemistry continues to move towards specialized formulations designed to address specific preparation challenges. At the same time, organizations such as the CDC, NIOSH, and OSHA continue to emphasize the importance of ventilation, engineering controls, safe work practices, appropriate PPE, and informed chemical selection as part of a comprehensive approach to prep room safety. In other words, the profession continues to evolve. Research continues, technology continues, and embalmers continue gaining access to more tools than ever before. Perhaps that's the most interesting takeaway. The vision wasn't simply about removing formaldehyde. It was about expanding possibilities, creating new options, exploring new chemistry, and giving embalmers additional pathways for achieving successful outcomes. When we look back at researching this, we're not simply reading embalming history. We're watching innovation happen in real time. We're seeing researchers ask questions, test ideas, challenge assumptions, and work to build upon the foundation established by generations of embalmers before them. Because progress in embalming has never been about abandoning the past, it's about learning from it, building upon it, and carrying that knowledge forward. One case, one innovation, one step forward at a time. Thanks for tuning in to this special edition of the Mortuary Masterclass. Until next time, keep doing what you do best, championing the prep room with purpose, because embalmers matter. And every step forward is part of your journey to safer solutions. That's the champion difference.